What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be spectating random players in Fortnite Zero Build, going over what I think they do well, what they could do differently, and just the state of the game right now. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below if you are excited for the upcoming Simpsons season, because this is going to be the final of these videos that I make in Chapter 6. We are going to be getting the Simpsons season in just a few days now on Saturday, November 1st. It is expected that that's when the Simpsons season is going to be playable. So not long at all left in Chapter 6 or with the Chapter 6 island. I'm going Bugswater Beach this game. I'm not really sure if too many people land here, but it was early on in the bus path. And it is a gold location. And so hoping a few players end up landing here. Those drones have been very valuable this season. At the start of the season, they were like incredibly OP. But even after kind of they were somewhat nerfed, I still think they're much better than they ever were this season. We're going to be on board with Anonymous, I believe. He's got my crown. Somebody just landed on him. Oh, no. This is like an awkward fight because he only has ARs. And the MK, while it has a higher fire rate, which you think would make it better for up-close fights, it has terrible hipfire accuracy, and then also when you aim in, it's like more zoomed in than I would like. And so I think using the holo there probably would have been a better bet than the MK, just because of how bad the hipfire is. But versus the Stinger SMG up close, either of those ARs are going to have a hard time winning that fight. So maybe just taking the pad that was next to him and going towards like the buildings would have been the best play to just kind of like reset that fight and get out of there and not have to deal with that like awkward timing. Somebody right in front of him, but I think they're an AI with how they're moving. Oh no. Was he? I thought he was about to die to the AI. I was concerned. I don't have much faith in this player after that one. But yeah, had that panda like padded, I think they could have easily got on these rooftops and then just looked back and like beamed this guy, or just like continue to loot more and then get like a different fight. But just dealing with that weird timing of just like, you know, not really having decent loot, not really having healed up yet, is something that could have worked out, but is also just a risk that's not like required to take. You know what I mean? I did just see somebody in the kill feed who is a good player. I'm gonna swap once just to see if we get them. Oh, this lobby is actually somewhat stacked because I just saw who this is as well, and I'm sure many of you can predict it based on the skin. But there's this player who's very, very good, and then another player in this lobby who I fight pretty often, and it's always a rough fight. I think this is... Okay, no, an AI. I wonder if they're coming from the shop or not. Because they only have 2 shockwaves, so they could maybe check the shop out and get more mobility there, whether it's crash pads or shockwaves. I prefer shockwaves to crash pads, but I think at this point in the game, I would take 6 crash pads over 2 shockwaves. If it's like very end game and it's like, you know, a 1v1, I would maybe just rather take the 2 shockwaves. But at this point, as I said, I would rather have 6 crash pads than 2 shockwaves. But he's going to stick with the shocks, which I don't think is the worst thing ever. I do like shockwaves a decent amount more than crash pads. That's what was in sale, and there was crash pads. Could also go to the OXR HQ and see if the shockwaves are being sold there or not. That Peely backbling is actually pretty decent. I think I like that more than the skin. We are getting a Simpsons Peely skin as well. Next season. We get so many versions of Peelies. Someone in the comments let us know how many different Peely skins are in Fortnite. These are just bots and be free kills. And the last time I made one of these spectating videos and somebody was using the MK, the comments were like freaking out about how that person must be cheating because there's no recoil on the MK. And for one, the recoil on the MK is mostly vertical, so it is very controllable in my opinion. If you have played shooters a decent amount, like just pull down a little bit when you're shooting. It's not that big of a deal. But also spectator mode and replay mode just doesn't properly show recoil in this game sometimes. And so it'll look like these players have absolutely zero recoil at all, but it likely looks very different on their screen. It's just like a bug with spectator mode and a bug with replay mode. And so a lot of times when people, you know, get beamed by somebody and then they're spectating and like, wow, this person has no recoil at all. A lot of times it's just a spectator bug. And then same with replay mode when people kind of go into replays to argue with Fortnite about why they shouldn't have died. Unfortunately, there's only crash pads for sale here as well. And so he's stuck with the 2 shockwaves for now because he would rather have shockwaves than crash pads. It's a lot of damage there. I don't know exactly. That's a kill, I think. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know exactly how much because we're not seeing the damage numbers, but I heard him break shield. And then he continued to hit shots after that. And then another bug with spectator mode is a lot of times people's reticle won't be like properly on the person they're shooting. Oh, he gets more shockwaves. That's huge. But the reticle doesn't always match up exactly with things. And so it might look like they're not aiming at the person when they are. It might look like their aim is slightly off, but that's just spectator mode being buggy. And that's the way it is. And that's the way it always has been. Player in front of him has a car. And so this is probably going to be a situation where he has to break their car or they just get out and exchange mid-range shots. But doesn't seem like that person wants to fight. Thing. Oh wow, I'm sorry he's gonna chase this. I was gonna say he wanted him to blow the car up and then just shockwave on them with the pistol, and it works out, I guess. I thought the person got far enough away. If they like got out of the car, and I didn't see if they had any mobility, but if they got out of their car and then used mobility, I think they maybe could have escaped. Especially with the player we're spectating having very limited shockwaves, they might not want to waste it like all on that one kill. The AI. I just wanted his peely shoes too. He could check the other shop and see if that one is selling shockwaves. It's just random what the shop is selling game to game. And I think that might actually be what he goes to do. There's a player gliding in front of him. I was going to say, like, you can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone there because those shops typically are areas where, like, people are kind of coming and going. You could check if there's shocks and then also find some players to eliminate. That's a free kill. Unfortunately, no shockwaves on them. I thought there was for a second because of that purple revolver. Okay. There's some here. I was going to say I'd be surprised if there's any here because usually these areas are, like, well looted and picked through. Actually, very good loot out of that. It gets more. I got 1 additional shockwave. And then also a purple pump. There's an AI. Oh my gosh. But sometimes the AI just go crazy. Like an AI with the Stinger SMG is actually one of the most deadly things in the game, I swear. Or like last season, the hired Robin NPC, I had a few games where it just like full fried me. Like the NPCs or AIs with SMGs sometimes just go like way too crazy in close range. So I think he's finally going to make it to the shop to see if there's shockwaves there. Maybe, maybe not. Things keep interrupting. And we'll see if there's anybody camping out here. Yeah, there is somebody here. I don't think they're necessarily camping, but they are here. Let's see if this one is selling shockwaves or not. You know, with the blue hollow over the gold MK, I'm actually surprised with that. And it's crash pads. That's sad. I prefer the holo to the MK personally, but with the players' aim thus far this game, I'm kind of surprised they went towards the holo because they've been full frying people with the MK. I think it's worked out perfectly for them. This may end up being a decent fight. Never mind. Is there a friendly stream sniper, I think? GG's, men. Still no shockwaves. This has been like the absolute struggle of a match for shocks. Rift pod incoming. That could be something decent to go for with it being in like the middle of the map right now. There's probably like other players that are going to go for it. There's still 12 opponents remaining in this zone, which is like not an absurd amount, but I feel like it's more than usual. He's going to take the slurps. The slurps are very good, but one thing about the slurps that tilts me is that you can't use it while in air. Like you can't like shockwave and then drink the slurp while you're shockwaving away. And I feel like every time I do choose to carry slurps, like that ends up griefing me in some way. But they are incredible if that like one niche scenario isn't like very important. And having a slurp popped mid-fight is also very good. Like, especially with it getting closer to the end game, if you like pre-pop that slurp going into the final fight, or just an important fight, then like you give yourself the upper hand. Because you're just regenning HP over the course of the fight. And a lot of times, you know, you have fights where someone might live with just like a few single digits of HP. In that situation, the slurp might have saved you. And I thought that player was going to get out at the bush and try to beam him. Because this car, with its pop tire, it's like you're never getting away here. If you're this player, you have to try to look for some opportunity to turn the fight. And I think kind of getting out and maybe peeking in that bush to get damage would have been one of the more decent opportunities to like have that happen. But instead, I think this is probably going to be a kill. They're going to fizz shock, but they're so like slow in the air sometimes when you fizz shock that I thought he was just going to get like beamed out of the air there. And it ended up happening a little bit later than I thought. More shockwaves finally. I didn't even think about that, but like that guy using shocks, obviously he had some. Only one off the body, but it's still better than nothing. And I don't think the player was spectating used any to get that kill, so it's like, you know, even if it is only +1, it's a net positive. Five opponents remain. The other player who I saw in the kill feed that I said was good is still in this lobby. They just got a kill recently. And so we may end up seeing a very good fight between these players, but also in zero build, timing is so... like, timing matters so much. If a decent player gets, like... If a good player gets timing on another good player, they could just, like, full capitalize on it and get the kill in a way that, like, would make it seem like an easy fight. Like, especially with, like, the holo MK in the game, like, you just full beam somebody 250 to 0 pretty quick. Maybe not 250 to 0, but, like, 200-ish, and then... You know, you're down so much that it's hard to regain. Like going on over there. Or just like if somebody third parties the other. This is the other player who I said was good. But like that timing is just not in their favor. They were killing something that... I think they were killing an AI. Maybe not. We'll see on this loot if there's like shockwaves on it. But yeah, they were killing an AI and then just get beamed because of it. And as I said, that opening matters so much if two good players are fighting. That chalks in him nowhere, but it's actually kind of good. But this is the player who I said was decent, and I fight them a lot. Their aim is very good. Getting third-partied, though. I think this other person is an AI, but you see this knight here, like, isn't even, like, worried about that other person. They're only worried about the player that they thought was good. That AI, I don't even think it's an AI, actually. I can't tell. We'll see on the name. I actually like that a lot, though. If I'm fighting somebody and I've kind of identified that I think they're, like, a good player, like, and with how those initial shots went, okay, it wasn't an AI, but with how those initial shots went with the cowboy player shooting this knight, the knight was probably like, oh shoot, this is like an actual threat, I need to kill them. And even though they were a little behind on HP and there was another person shooting at the cowboy, they took advantage of that opportunity and just full focused the good player. And I think a lot of people there would have just shot the pig that's in front of them, and then the good player would have been able to get away and heal. And as I kind of was already talking about, if two solid good players fight, it's typically just kind of a matter of timing with these ARs. And you kind of saw that there, how quickly the fight almost went south for this knight. And so I like how he prioritized the more important target there. Could come back to bite you, and maybe the pig just like sticks around and re-third parties you. But I think I would have done the same thing. If I'm fighting somebody that seems like a threat, they are so much more important to me than like the other people. And I honestly thought that pig was an AI at first because they were just like kind of standing out in the open. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.